I'm Chuck, KK6USY. Welcome to Ham Radio Ventures. Have you ever wanted to build an antenna kit, but you weren't sure how to go about it? You know, the toroid can be kind of hard to build. So stick around, I'm going to teach you how I build the Poseidon antenna that we just came out with, and I'm going to show you a few of my little tips and tricks, because I've probably built more of these than anyone. Let's get started. All right, so this is what comes in the box, guys. Well, that's most of it. You also get a winder. I'll show you the winder in a second. So let's just open the bag and see what comes in real quick here. All right, first of all, you're gonna get a large heat shrink if you choose to put it on. I recommend putting this on after you do all your testing. You get one chance at it. You get the Coffee and Ham Radios sticker. You get a Velcro winder. Now this Velcro winder is really good because you end up using this later on your mast if you use a mast to hang the antenna. We came up with this little disc. It will fit, this disc fits most, I would say almost all 10 meter and 12 meter mast. And there's kind of a look at that, guys. You get the toroid. We're gonna wrap that in a minute. 6 zip ties. You get two links of magnet wire coiled up like that. You get a BNC kit. Get a screw and a nut. You get a little clip that hangs from the disc that I showed you earlier. You get some heat shrink. The heat shrink is to pretty much do what you feel that you need to do with it. Like this, our kits are basically for, we give you instructions on how we like to build it, but if you want to build it differently, you're totally welcome to do that. Get a couple ring terminals. So let's start, and well, let me show you the winder. Now here's the winder, guys. And this winder is the same winder that you would find on all of our other antennas that we sell currently. It was designed to be useful in multiple applications, which it's been pretty good so far. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the BNC. And I am just building this. I already have mine built, but I'm just building this for you guys. Now, if you look on this thing, there's a little cup right there. See the cup? You want that up as much as possible. See, mine's not going to go up. It just kind of, there you go. That's pretty good there. I think our instructions say to put the screw on the left side. I'm right-handed. I kind of like it on this side, and the reason I like that is because I will run my radios, ground radios, through this hole to the bolt, and it's just natural for me to wind it that way. Okay, you can put it on either side, doesn't matter. So we're going to throw the ground lug on, the star washer. Now the threads on these are really, really tiny, guys, and what you don't want to do is cross thread it for one, and you don't want to over tighten. Sometimes it helps to put it upright like this, and if you back it off like I did, like this, you'll find it'll kind of set itself, but it's so small, guys, that sometimes it's just hard to get started. This is like a 12 or a half, guys, 12 millimeter or half inch. I usually tighten it down real tight within reason, I should say. Okay, and I'll take this and bend it out. That way you have less chance of not seeing it when you put your ground down, okay? So what you're going to do is your ground's going to come from the toroid to here to one of those ring terminals that bolts up there or screws onto that, all right? Next thing I usually will do is I will stick the screw, and I'll just go ahead for now and just put that on so it's there. Now, I've showed you guys this before. If you want to take the little red, I like to take them off, and I just heat it up a little bit. And that's all it takes, and it pulls right off, guys. And I'll do both of mine now while I'm at it. That way you don't damage. Sometimes if you pull the red part off and you just don't heat it up and you hold this, it'll bend this, and sometimes it's hard to get it straight again, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our toroid, take our wire. If you just take this and just hold it, put your thumb in there and just pull it, it'll come out pretty straight, as long as you don't try to kink it. And then what I usually do is I match the ends up like that, guys. Okay, so I bent this about 3 inches. It says 2.5 or 3 inches, I think, in the instructions. And I'm going to set that right there like that. So I'm going to pull this around. We want 8 turns. So I'm going to get this, just kind of hold that like that. I'm going to pull this up. And once you get that first turn on, it's pretty easy to hold it there, guys. But I like to get that first one fairly tight. And Ape and I both like just to push this down with your thumb and then pull it through. I think you're less likely to cross the wires, guys, because you can kind of keep an eye on them each time. All right, so there's our first 2 turns. And I wanted it spaced out just a little bit more. We can space them when we get done. So now I'm going to bring another one down. I'm going to bring it up, over, as tight as I can get it, guys. Up the side, keeping them in line so they're not crossed. And then push them through with my thumb. What's really nice about this toroid, the finish on this thing is really nice. And you don't take, like the 140s, 43s, a lot of times you can scrape the enamel off. But let me go ahead and finish this and I'll be back. Okay, so what I have is 2 wires coming out the top, 2 wires coming out the bottom. All right, and that's what we're looking for. So now I will take one of these and just kind of tie this whole thing together here, just to kind of hold things intact. All right, so then I'll take my pliers and pull this nice and tight. And now that I'm done wrapping, guys, I can push this thing, the top of this, inside here, but I will cut it off too, flush cut it, like that. And you can pretty much do the same thing. Just get them as tight as you can and kind of spaced out evenly, guys. It's not super important, all right? You can do the same thing on the other side if you want to. So that's what it should look like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this wire, the outside, and the outside on this side, out of the way for now. And then we're going to kind of put this one, kind of bend it down and right to the middle, and bend this one over, kind of find out where they are. Because what we want to do is we want to take this enamel off, and we want to leave one of these long. Okay, so let me get the enamel off, and the way I'm going to do that is just a knife, okay? So we want it, because we have to solder this. So I'm just going to pull this off. I'm not going to bore you guys with it. However you get it off, you can use a Dremel, you can use a file, whatever your preferred way of doing this is. So I'll come back and I'll show you what I'm going to do. All right, so what I've got is the enamel taken off. I'm just going to take these 2 and I'm going to twist them nice and tight here. A couple turns. Then we're going to solder that, okay? So I usually solder it before I do anything else. So what I'll do is just kind of get it primed there. And I'm going to put it underneath here and I'm going to draw this solder through so it gets everywhere. Okay, so that's plenty good enough right there, guys. I need one of these wires because it's going to go to the center of the BNC. So I'm going to take this one because it looks kind of straight already. I'm just going to pull it straight and then I'm going to clip the other one off. As tight as I can get it. Okay, so we're done with that piece. Eventually what I'll do is I'll set this up to my winder and then we'll measure this, but I'll end up taking all this off too. Okay, just like this, guys. And that's probably plenty far enough because it's going to solder into the BNC also, okay? So now let's just look at what it looks like here. So what I'll do is you want to line it between these 2 here. And basically, it looks like it needs to be cut off right about here. So I'll cut it for now, cut just a little bit long. I'll take it and actually stick it in here. And that's about perfect. It can go in just a little farther, but it'll be perfect right there. And then I'll kind of just bend it to where it fits right. Now the other part we're going to do is we're going to take this piece. This one here is going to come to here. This one's going to bend around the back and that's going to be our wire, hooked to our wire. So it needs to go somewhere around there. So I'll cut that one off now to get it shorter. And I'll strip it also so we can solder that. And I'll put a bend in that. Now you guys can, if you want to get, these are 832s. If you want to get another one and you want to hook it to something, like over to here, whatever you want to do, just make sure it goes through here. That way it goes nice and straight on the, when you hook it to the mast. It's up to you guys, but we supply this one for this one, and this one here you're just going to solder straight to the wire. Okay. Actually, I might go ahead and just solder this now, so it's solid. Once you actually solder this part, guys, everything's pretty solid. It's not going to move around a lot. Let's get some heat to it. And I'm just making sure I see it suck inside the BNC there. You just don't want to heat it too much. That should be plenty. Once it cools, you can kind of pull on it a little bit. It should be good. Now you will put if you want to, you can put a wire tie through there, around, through the middle hole, and through this hole, and through the middle hole, and that will tie it down nice and tight. I usually do this last one because sometimes I might just catch this wire when it goes underneath here, just so it doesn't move. Okay. So I'm going to go off camera for now, and I'm going to scrape all this stuff so it fits into here, and then I'll measure it to fit. All right. All right, guys. So what I've done is I've routed the wire through here. So we're going to solder there. We're going to solder this. Crimping this solid core wire doesn't really help much. And what I've done is I've got the end of it right at the edge here. And then I put a little wire tie underneath it, one of the cutoff pieces, just to kind of hold it up off of the winder so you don't heat up the winder. You can melt these pretty easy. So let's go ahead and we will solder those up. So first of all, I'll solder right here. So as usual, I'm going to kind of get it started. Okay. So let me turn a little bit this way. All right, so I'm going to get it heated up. I'm going to draw it through if I can, guys. Here we go. Doesn't take a whole lot here. So that's soldered nicely. And then basically I'm just going to suck this through here. I'm going to put it on there. I'm just going to fill it best I can. And you don't want that wire sticking out because it will probably get caught on stuff. Now, a lot of times I will actually crimp it just a little bit. It doesn't really hold it, but it does make it a little bit smaller. It did pretty good, and then that's off. Now you can tighten this up, but you're going to still put your radials to here, so I don't even bother with that for now. Now on the back side, what I did here is I put a little bend in it. I'm going to pull it here. And when I bend it back about like that for now, I'll fix it up a little bit later once I get the wire soldered to it. Okay, usually I leave it up a little bit so that when you solder it, it's not on there, so you don't damage the winder. I usually just put a little bend in this, guys, like this, and then bring it up through the back here. And that's usually good enough to get it started through there, guys. So you're going to go in, you're going to go down to the second hole, back up, and that puts you right there. Now, the reason I don't like more bolts than this, or screws, because every time you have one of these screws, it's something to catch on the wire. But what you do want to do is tie a little bit of a knot. So I will tie a knot here, leave myself about a half an inch or so. And I'll usually do this before I actually measure it out. So that can keep your wire from coming through. So that's not going anywhere now. And this wire is pretty cool because you can I'm going to clip it off just a little bit. A lot of times you can just take your fingernail and strip it. And then just now, all we're going to do is make a connection to here and solder. I just kind of wrap it around a little bit, just so I can get it in there. Make sure everything's there. Now we're just going to solder that. And because you have that retention, you're not going to, it's not going to have any push on it or anything, guys. And I just like to fill that little half circle that I built. Solder. Okay. Now we're talking about holding the toroid down. So I'll pull this through here like this, guys. And now, once this cools off a little bit, I'm going to pull this right by that little hole there. Hopefully you can see that. A little hole right there. I'm going to pull the wire tie through around that. Get it started. And then I'm going to tighten that on there, and that will hold that nice and tight there, guys. And again, we're just going to pull this nice and tight. And then I push it down inside, clip it off. And especially if you're going to use the, now I can push this down so it doesn't catch on anything. And that's not going to go anywhere now, guys. I will put one more in, though. We're going to put one more in the front now, because we're pretty much built. And on this one, I go between the two wires. And it will catch the one wire, I think, once it tightens down. So I'll get this thing set where I want it. Right in the middle there. Hold that with my thumb and pull it nice and tight. It's already kind of where I want it. Push it down a little bit. Clip it off. Now that toroid's not going to go anywhere, guys. And I don't, personally, I don't even use the heat shrink. I'll leave them like this, kind of. All right, guys, so I stripped the wires. This is just a simulated one, guys. But I don't solder these first because they barely fit in here, but they will fit. So get these nice and tight, and you don't want them sticking too far. Okay, what I want is I want that just barely inside, all right? So I'm gonna solder that. I've got some helping hands here. You can crimp it also, guys, if you want to. I don't think you need to do both, but if that's what you like to do, go ahead and do it. And as before, I'm going to try and draw it in. Once you get it started, you can see it flow inside the crack there. And now I can just get some more on there, okay? And then what I like to do is, I like to get these kind of straight. And I do a small piece of heat shrink first, about 1/4 inch. I'll slide that up the wires. Like I said, I try to get them kind of separate a little bit. Then I'm going to put that one on first. And I know some of you guys don't like this. I can't find my heat gun, so I know some people don't like the lighter method. It actually works good. And this is glued heat sink, guys. So I'll put that one in like that. Then I'll take a longer piece like this. And this is just kind of protecting the wires where they connect to the winder, guys. Just to kind of give a little extra protection, a little extra strength. Okay, so I'll slide this one up and just over the end again. And we're at the very end of that, guys. And then we're going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to kind of hold them in a circle there. Heat shrink everything nice. I like to heat shrink it until, you have to be careful with the lighter, but shrink it until you see the glue kind of come out. And then I'll actually burn myself usually. Just kind of tap it a little bit so it kind of gets the glue on everything. Like I said before, this is your guys' antenna, and you can build it however you want to, but I'm just going to show you my my preferred methods for myself. And I told you about, guys, before, I put mine on a certain side because I'm right-handed. So what I'm going to do is, this should be cooled off now. This is the flat side here. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to hold this screw. And I'm going to bring this up and through here. And right there. You just don't want to get your heat shrink too long. I like it about to where it reaches the edge there. So that's about 1 inch. And I would tighten this down with a nice, I usually use, you know, a nice socket and stuff to tighten this stuff down with. For me, when I pick this thing up, I want to wind like this, okay? So that's why I put it on that side. All right? And then I'll turn it around and I'll wind this one like that also. Okay? That's the reason I put it where I put it. You guys can put it wherever you want to. So basically, once you cut your radios to 17 feet, I usually cut them 17 feet an inch, put a little loop in the end with a little heat shrink. I use like a little 1/4 inch piece of heat shrink. They're all done, and then you cut this one to 25 feet. I don't really say, our instructions say to, you know, hang it over a few extra inches. I don't usually do that. I cut about 1 inch over, or something like this at the end, about like that, guys, and just put a loop. And a lot of times I'll take a little bigger heat shrink and I'll put over this and put a hole in it just to strengthen that a little bit. We don't supply that, but that's something you can do. Or you can just put a piece of heat shrink that you can, like this, just barely bigger than this, and put it over the end of it. And that'll help protect this at that joint where, because you're going to put, I always put a little bit of tension on mine. I'll do a video on how I set this up also, guys, for you guys. So I'll do that later. But then I'll put this here. If you tie a knot in the end of this and then put heat shrink over the end of it, it won't come off, guys. It'll sit there pretty good. All right. Hope this is helpful for you guys. It's really one of our easiest builds, to tell you the truth, and one of our easiest antennas to deploy. I mean, you don't need a whole lot of room. You got 17 feet in 4 directions. It's just laying on the ground, so it's really not in anybody's way. You might warn people if they're walking over it so they don't catch it and trip over it or something. All right, guys. So there we go. That's what the end product was. And we at Coffee and Hom Radios want to make it easier for you guys to build antennas like this and have the enjoyment of building your own antenna, making that first contact on it, and it being your own. Like I said in the video, you can make it any way you want to. I mean, within reason. You need to still follow most of the instructions. If you do have problems with it, that's why we make the videos like this. I think Ape made one, Jim made one, and then now I've made one also. And if you ever do have any problems, join the Toads Discord if you haven't already. And if you have any problems at all, just post it under the antenna section, and one of us or all of us will help you. Hopefully, if you guys are new here and you liked what you saw today, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, hit all, that way you'll get all my future videos. And don't forget to hit that like. I'm Chuck, KK6USY, for Ham Radio Adventure 73 All. Hope to get you guys on the airways.